Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today is going to be a story time video.
Oh, this is what it feels like. Oh, this is what it feels like.
I'm trying to think about the things that I can ramble on, just because I have a tendency to make a long intro, but I think I'm going to be good this time. So I'm going to speed this up. If you like this video, click the like button. If you want to see more storytime videos, leave a comment so I actually know you want this. And if you want to see more about me, because I only post about once a week, then go down below in the description bar. You'll see all my social media handles. I try to be entertaining as possible on Snapchat. You have the, what's it called, the gram, all that stuff. So you guys are millennials and Gen X. Just go, just go follow me. This isn't a shameless self-promotion. Okay, so let me move on to this video. So as you can see from the title, I was friends with the pathological liar. Now, I just have to set this up that we're not friends anymore. That'd be really cruddy of me to post a video of someone who was my friend. This happened. We broke off our friendship a while back. You're not going to be able to stalk her to find out who she is. Some people may know, but that might be because they've interacted with her and was like, say what? So this girl, she and I went to the same school together. So we met in lower school, or maybe some people call it elementary school. And so I remember we had a whole lot of fun. We used to play with Breyer horses. Now, this probably really aggravated my parents because Breyer horses were expensive. But when I went to her house and she had such a beautiful collection, I had to have one too. So what we did was we played horses, and that was kind of how we bonded. And so that was a fun time. And she lived really close to my house. So my mom would be able to walk me to her house. It was really easy to make play dates. So lower school happened, and then we kind of gravitated towards getting older into middle school. And over time, everything was usually pretty good, but I remember she had some stories. And I remember I thought she was really cool. I remember she had one story where her sister was sleeping and the ceiling fan just all of a sudden it just cracked through. I don't even know how to visualize this, but from her description is the ceiling fan just all of a sudden without any warning, I'm pointing up because I have a ceiling fan, but it just collapses on her sister while she's sleeping. And one of the panels hits her foot, and she had no idea till she woke up in the morning and the fan was on the ground. And I was thinking, dang, her sister's one heavy sleeper, but who would have thought? And I remember I was terrified of fans ever since then. I could never put them on high volume because I always figured that they would spin so fast that they would spin off of the ceiling and just chop my head off. I didn't know. Then she had another story where she was saying that she was with some boy who was, I believe, a family friend. I don't think they were related. And they were in the kitchen and he turned around too fast and his face was the level of the kitchen counter and it had a sharp edge. And so when he turned, it actually made contact with its eyeball and then popped it out of its socket. Not just the fact that it was, hit, the eyeball literally was out and proceeded to become disconnected by the force and just rolls along the kitchen floor. And I was thinking, dang, if I knew what YouTube was, this girl should be a story timer. She had the most incredible stories. It was just amazing. So then middle school happened, and I remember I would still hear these stories, but these stories would start to involve people that I know or things that would happen at school. And when you graduate with a class of 118 people, when something happens, somebody else knows. There's definitely a rumor mill that goes around. So I remember she told the story about how she grabbed this boy and she shoved him in her locker. And she told me this and I was like, oh my gosh, and that's kind of how she got her self-esteem, was feeling strong and, physically strong, good at sports, that, being a girl's guy was kind of her thing, or what she felt like she needed to do to stand out from the other girls. So I remember I was like, oh my God, Then I remember she, in front of me, she would start telling her friends, and then, there had a new beginning to it. She beat the kid up, and then she shoved him in the locker. And I'm just thinking, this is just, what? Why wouldn't she tell me about this fight? That's so, juicy, because no one fought at my school. If you get in a fight, it's an automatic detention. So to hear about this happened in public, school hours, on school premise, in front of, potential teachers or just enough students in this locker room, I was just blown away. And then, she kept telling the story to other people, and she would tell them to my friends. And after a while, it just kind of got weird, because the story, every time she told it, didn't seem to make sense, because they were all different. And so in middle school, I was just thinking, she's got some stories here, and so, it got to a point where I remember I didn't want to be that person who brought up talking bad about a friend, but when we were in a friend group and she wasn't there, and I remember asking, do you believe in this story? And then I found out that all the girls in my friend group were kind of like, what the heck? They had no idea that this really, they didn't really believe it. They were already skeptical. So it was kind of nice talking to them, and we're thinking, this girl's not really truthful all the time. And I had been friends with her, I don't know if it was the longest, but I definitely had vivid memories from lower school. And so when I offered them, about the eyeball and the ceiling fan, it just wasn't right. So now we were, 8th grade, 7th grade or 8th grade, this was going around. And so now we were about to enter high school. And so you can kind of understand how when you're younger, you might tell some fibs, and it's just easier to, maybe you are embarrassed of something, or you kind of get the high off of getting a certain reaction. So, when you're young, you can be someone who tells stories. And then in middle school, you kind of expect, it to happen maybe in the beginning, but it fades out. Well, then high school comes along, and these stories never went away. And she would bring them up all the time, and it got to a point where, it was kind of scary, because it seemed like she knew some of these stories down to a T and repeated them so often to us, her friend group. She, what's there to impress? And then we realized that she might actually believe her own lies. Okay, I'm back in something new. My camera died, so then I just kind of continued on with life, not knowing about this, and now I'm here in my pajamas and filming. Anyway, so let me get back into the story. I'm sorry that I keep interrupting you guys with this. Sorry. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so, eventually we transition into high school, and high school gets a bit harder on our friendship. And along with some of the other girls, she is a very competitive girl. So, besides the fact that her stories were not fully aligning with the truth, and by now she's probably racked up hundreds of them. Sometimes she would just lie pretty much every day, or, a few times a week. And sometimes it would be dumb, whether it was some conversation with a teacher that we clearly knew didn't exist, or just how something went down with so-and-so when we kind of had access to the truth. It never made sense, and it just became second nature to her. And I'm not for sure why we didn't call her out on it, but it got to a point where we let so many of them slide by, because at first, we wanted to believe them, because a lot of the times she was victimizing herself. And how do you say, oh, we don't believe you? But after a while, you know, I don't know why we didn't mention it, but at the point it just almost seemed, you know, how old were we? And she was still doing this. It just kind of felt like she had a sickness. And so none of us really knew how to address that. But then on top of that, you know, I think a lot of insecurities in high school got in the way. And so she was, you know, not always the nicest to me. I think I was kind of the one who was always most picked on. And I think it's because you can say some of the meanest stuff to me and I'll still hold a smile to my face because I don't always know how to react. And I'm someone that sometimes in my head, I'm just so flabbergasted, or I just know I'm so mad that it's not worth reacting, and I want some time to evaluate and choose my battles. There's another thing that I witnessed, and then I realized my other friends witnessed, and it just really bothered them, is that she treated her parents, especially her mom, like shit. Her mom would say something and she would literally be like from the cartoons and go, "Shut up, Mom." Do you know how awkward it is for her? You know, it's not just the fact that maybe her mom said something or she was in a bad mood and said something, there was a little bit of tension and you kind of felt uncomfortable. No, her mom was so nice and innocent and pure, and she would just suggest something and she'd be like, "I know, Mom. God, Mom, you know, goodbye, go away," you know, just really rude stuff. So throughout high school, she kind of kept talking about her mom's depression, and that was just kind of a hard subject because we wanted to sympathize with her, but we all kind of know what might have been contributing to the depression because it was her sister, you know, they were just mean to her. And she didn't have a whole lot of friends. She was very much a family mom. So her world were her kids, and her kids were just putting her down and constantly so condescending. So at this point in time, you know, just thinking you're a liar, don't really respect you. Cut to senior year of high school when we had the most friction. I remember I had a crush on this boy, but I didn't know if I should be dating him. He seemed a little bit flaky, and I was kind of bouncing ideas off of what I should do. And, you know, I made the comment that I don't know if I was really attracted to him. You know, I just, you know, I was more attracted to so-and-so and to XYZ. And so I just kind of said, like, I don't know if I find him really cute. Maybe I just kind of liked being friends with him. And she went on to agree, but then kind of go on about how he wasn't attractive. You know, he wasn't that cute. You know, he's not worth it, blah, blah, blah. So a dance rolls around, and this girl never has a date for a dance, never had one. So I set her up with my friend because I figure, why not? She wants a date, he wants a date, there we go. So they make out on the very first date, and then they end up dating, and they're still together to this day. So they've been together for about over 5 years, because we haven't been friends for 5 years, and then before that they started dating in the beginning of senior year. My timeline's a little bit off. So that just definitely made me very annoyed. I wish she would be honest with me, and at that point in time I was just exhausted of our friendship. So it gets to a point where she talks about her mom wanting to kill herself. And at this point in time, she has dramatized every story in the book, and she's always playing victim. So when she told that reaction, by that time, it was kind of like the girl who cries wolf. So we were concerned and we were upset by what she said, but half of us couldn't believe it, and then the other half only just wanted to feel sympathy towards the mom. We couldn't feel sympathy towards our friend because we know the reasoning behind her mom's depression was 50% her sister and 50% her. So we didn't know how to react. You know, it just seemed like she was kind of banking off of her mom, if it were true, banking off of her mom to play the victim, when honestly it just made us even more disgusted by her. So we didn't really hold a reaction. It was kind of weird. I didn't really, and it ended up being unanimous. So we kind of had an awkward friendship towards the end, and then she just chose to leave the friend group. My one good friend that I'm still best friends with reached out to her and she pretty much blasted her about saying, you know, none of you guys cared when I told you about my mom. And it was really awkward on my other friend's end because she was telling me, how do you say to her, well, we didn't know if we could even believe you. But whose fault is that? That's my story. I guess, I don't know if there was a point to this. I think it kind of helps as a life lesson because when you're insecure, you have toxic friendships that you still hold on to and you make excuses for. And maybe if she wasn't rude to her mom and she didn't, you know, wasn't so always trying to story top and do this to other people, maybe being a pathological liar could have been something that would have been okay in our friendship. But my experience just wasn't good. I don't know where I'm going with this vlog because I don't know what I can speak from it. But just a story, take it as it is. And again, I will see you guys next week. Don't forget to hit subscribe and follow me on Instagram. I don't know. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm tired. And I'm not wearing pants. Ah! Okay, bye. Oh wait, oh yeah, my outro. So I'm like, bye. And then I'm like, where do I unrecord?